Hey guys, so this is the directions for the ecological disturbances assignment. So you should have completed the assignments from the Tuesday, Wednesday folder, which means you're familiar with your food chains, food webs, and energy pyramids. So we are going to be looking more closely at food webs, and we're going to look at how an ecological disaster can actually disrupt an ecosystem. So an ecosystem is the biotic and abiotic parts of an environment. Again, we're going to put our focus on the biotic parts, which are your producers and your consumers. So we know a producer is going to be our plants. They're autotrophs. They make their own food. Everything else is a consumer. So consumers are heterotrophs. They have to eat in order to gain energy. We have our different types of consumers. So our herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, scavengers. We have our detrivores and our decomposers. So for this activity, you're going to be using those same cards, the Goran Goes to Africa cards, to build a food web. So you're going to do what you did similar to last time. But this time, after you build your food web, you're going to be picking an ecological disaster, and you're going to explain how it affects your food web. So I give you an example of what a food web looks like. Remember, this is where you have multiple feeding relationships happening. So in part one, you're going to actually build your food web. This is going to be very similar to what you did on Tuesday. You are going to choose 2 producers and 5 consumers from these cards. So when you click on it, it's going to take you to those exact same cards that you had chosen last time. I think the easiest way to do it is a Google Drawing. If you open this up and you make a copy, it's going to have all the pictures already there ready for you. So again, you choose any 2 producers and any 5 consumers. It doesn't matter. Once you choose that, you're going to drag their pictures onto here. So your 2 producers, 5 consumers, and then you need to insert the arrows. So here, if you hit arrow, connecting the correct ones. Once your food web is fully completed, so all arrows are connecting the correct species, you're going to take a screenshot. So let's say I wanted to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so here's my 2 producers, 5 consumers. Again, I need to go through and I need to add arrows to what's eating what. I'm going to look at the cards to make sure the diets are correct. So like here, I see insects omnivore, they eat plants, they eat other insects. So when I go back, I need to make sure that I'm connecting him to both of these plants because it says he eats plants. All right, don't forget the direction of your arrows matter. Whatever is doing the eating, the arrow goes towards them. Then you need to make sure you connect the rest of it. So who else is eating these plants? Who's eating the insects? Who's eating the primary consumers? Make sure your food web is complete. So when you're done, you're going to take a screenshot. And then you're going to go back to your assignment. Make sure you're on this blank page. If you hit insert, image, upload from computer, either under desktop, yours might be under downloads. It's going to say screenshot and it should be your food web. And you're going to add it into this slide. Make sure you shrink it so it's the correct size. Oh. All right. Then in part 2. So part 2 is where an ecological disaster is going to come in. So you have different disturbance cards. You are only choosing one. So you read through and you think about which one you'd like to look at. So tourism, fires, war, increasing human population, agriculture, deforestation, or drought. Then you want to read about what this means. So let's say I chose drought. Annual cycles of flood and drought. They shape the flora and fauna, which is plant life of the park. During the dry months, the rivers and lakes dry up. Water sources are concentrated at watering holes. Plants, especially grasses, grow more slowly or not at all. So the competition among animals for plants increases. So when we go back to our food web, I need to be describing how does drought affect my food web, all animals. So I know that it gets rid of grasses and it really affects the plants. So if I get rid of grasses completely, how is that going to affect the grasshopper population? If this gets affected, how might that affect the shrews? How will that affect the impala? How's that going to affect the buffalo? How is it going to affect the eagle? You need to talk about all of the species. Oh, here we go. All of the producers and consumers in your food web and how they will be affected. If they're not affected, that's fine. Just say they're not affected. But you need to be describing how would that one ecological disturbance you chose affect the species in your food web. All right? Hopefully this makes sense. If not, please sign up for office hours. Let me know if you need help. When you're finished, make sure you submit in Schoology. If you don't hit the submit button, I cannot grade it, which means it stays as a 0.